Let me just start off by saying that yes, I am one of those people that if I eat something that's even semi messy, I'm going to get it all over my shirt. I'm just going to wear it for the entirety of the day. I'll have ketchup sauce and chili sauce all over me. It is what it is. I can't really help myself. And it's not that I don't use napkins, they just find a way to gravitate towards my shirt. The only people that are worse are probably those that actually wear their food on their beard or mustache. That's probably the worst. Could you imagine having like little pieces of onion or like 2-day-old scrambled egg? I'm nobody to judge, but that's kind of nasty. Anyways, all jokes aside, in today's video, I thought that we would kind of do a little bit of a quick recap for the newest Hasbro Star Wars live stream, where they essentially decided to showcase some of their new Star Wars collectibles, whether it's Star Wars Vintage or Black Series. And obviously, I thought we would start off with my baby, and that is the Black Series line. Even though I like the Star Wars Vintage line for the most part, I tend to gravitate toward the 6-inch line for some ridiculous reason, even though the Star Wars Vintage line is an absolute banger and they usually get way more Dio sets and way more vehicles. But still, let's talk about the Black Series offerings here. Now, I will say I'm a little bit disappointed because I actually genuinely thought we were going to get an announcement for a new HasLab project. Unfortunately, that did not come to fruition. I'm not sure exactly what it is that they're waiting for. There could be a potential for a stream later down the year. We did just have a few HasLabs close up. Not to mention some of those figures that just went up on the Hasbro Pulse website that were not HasLabs, but they were pretty expensive. You had like Dragon Man and the new Sentinel and so on and so forth. Even some Ghostbusters projects as well. So it just makes sense that they're going to wait it out. If you guys are interested in watching a video where I just flat out speculate, you guys can actually watch at least one video that is related to that. I did upload it a few weeks ago, so if you guys are interested in just a video where I, all out just give you guys my wish list, there you guys have it. Now let's get straight into it. They did announce a Captain Rex as well as an Anakin Skywalker. Both of them are supposed to be based in their live action appearances on the Ahsoka Disney Plus show. And yes, all of our assumptions were correct. The Captain Rex is going to be on that new clone body mold from, what was it, 2023. So very excited to finally see Captain Rex on that updated body mold. We did receive one for the Bad Batch animated series, which is still using that old body mold, and then they did re-release the really old school original Black Series Captain Rex with all the cool weathering on it. Both of those figures are essentially what we've received so far, if I'm not mistaken, from the Black Series line. There might be some iterations here and there that I may have missed, but those are the main two. We're finally getting an updated one. Unfortunately, this is a clean-cut one and is based on his appearance in Ahsoka. I personally would prefer if they would update like the weathered version with that 2023 body mold. Give us the brand new articulation and then throw on some scuff, some grittiness, some weathering, some battle damage. That's what I really wanted to see. As I said, this is based on the Ahsoka show, so this is completely different. It's also worth mentioning that this figure does come with double triggered fingers for each hand, which is something that I don't think we've ever seen from a Black Series Captain Rex before. As I said, we are getting a new Anakin, or a quote-unquote new Anakin. If I'm not mistaken, this is a lot of reuse from that Target exclusive Anakin, or I think this is the last time that they used that particular body mold, but I'm pretty sure that it's been utilized a few times, in the past or within that same time frame. But I think we can all agree we wanted an updated version Anakin. If you really wanted to just give us the exact same version from the Target exclusive release, they could have done that, but potentially just repackage it or give it to us in like another sleek, like retro carded version for like the episode 3 film, and we would have been okay with that, because well, most of us completely missed out on that Target exclusive wave. And if I'm not mistaken, it was either right before or right after or during the whole pandemic situation. So a lot of us just completely missed out on it. There were people buying like 2 to 3, 4 different Anakin action figures and just completely clearing out Target stores. So it just made, like perfect sense for them to reissue that exact same version. But instead they give us, this like quote unquote updated version, which I think is just a new head sculpt. They might have done something new around the chest area, maybe the shoulders, but for the most part, I think this is mostly reused. Now, there were 4 figures for the Star Wars Vintage line, and I've said this before, even though Star Wars Vintage has some absolute bangers from time to time, I don't collect it as much. I'm not sure why it is. It just doesn't fall within my wheelhouse of, scales that I like to collect. For the most part, I'm a 1/12 collector, a little bit of 1/10, so I tend to gravitate more towards the Black Series line. But there were 4 really good releases for the Star Wars Vintage line. They did announce a new Balin skull and a Shin Hati. Both of these figures have some pretty intricate stuff going on. I think with Balin's skull, they did mention in the live stream that there was some pretty good shade work going on with this particular figure. And as you guys can see, the lower half of the body, or the lower robe piece, is cut in a way that you can articulate the legs enough to get him into some really cool poses. But as I said, it's really interesting to see the Star Wars Vintage line actually have some pretty decent paint applications. It's something that you usually see even from the Black Series line. So the Star Wars Vintage line still adding those minor little details. It's definitely kind of a nod to the collector community and to the core community, and I think that's really cool from Hasbro here. Shin Hati, I think, has a slightly less paint applications from what I can tell, but you can definitely see a lot of the armor pieces. It's a very intricate figure. There's a lot going on. It's not simplistic, and that's something that I really like about the character. I mean, obviously, they're making it as screen accurate as it possibly can, so you can't really credit too much, to Hasbro. They're basing it off of the live action show, but they still did a really good job with both of these figures. I mean, personally, I don't really have a lot of attachment with these 2 particular characters. As I've said before, I'm not really too deep into the Disney Plus live action stuff. I've been kind of falling in and out of love with them. I'll watch a few episodes here and there, and then maybe like spend a few months without watching anything, and then I'll try to catch up like a few weeks or a couple of months after the show is completely finished. And so it's kind of been a very love-hate relationship, so I'm not really too excited for those particular releases. Although, as I said, there's definitely some love, there's definitely some effort being thrown out at these figures. They also announced a 501 Clone Trooper as well as a Super Commando. Both of these, I think, have been released, at least to a certain degree. I believe that particular clone was released in that like 4-pack that got released not too long ago, which was a Hasbro Pulse exclusive, if I'm not mistaken. That it was like windowless. It was kind of just meant to be an army builder. And then the Super Commando, I think we've already seen before. I own a Super Commando in my display at the moment, but I'm not sure if this is using the same body mold. I'm gonna assume that it is. It probably just has like slightly different paint applications. I will say with both of these characters, they're, again, good solid releases. They're army builders. It's giving more people an opportunity to pick up multiples of these. And I will say, even if Hasbro decided to re-release these like every 3 to 4 years, I think even collectors that picked up the original figures will still jump in on them, because they're great army builders. It's, you pick up 2 to 3 of these, of each of these, and then maybe like a few years later, if they decide to re-release them with minor little upgrades or minor little differences in paint applications, as I said, I think people will still gravitate towards them, especially those hardcore collectors, those really hardcore fans out there that are really interested in army building. These are perfect for them, and they do come in those beautiful retro cards, which always means you can open a few of these, and then if you want, you can display some of these up on your wall, brand new, like mint on card. So there you guys have it. Those are the 6 figures that got announced, and I will say, I don't know, it seemed like they were holding back a little bit. We got 2 Black Series action figures announced, and I guess one of them was kind of new. The other one's just technically a re-release with a new head sculpt. I know it's, based on a newer version, but it just felt like they were withholding something from us. Maybe last minute they had to cancel some of these figures, or maybe not cancel them, but at least cancel the announcements for them until, later in the future. And then as far as the 4 Star Wars vintage figures that were announced, pretty exciting. There's nothing really too groundbreaking. They did have 2 Black Series figures that were heavy hitters, and then probably 2 new characters for their Star Wars vintage line, and then 2 army builders, which I think is a pretty good balance. Overall, I think there's a lot to love. There's a lot to hate here. They could have given us a new Anakin body mold. It is what it is. And then, with the Star Wars Vintage line, two characters that I think, I'll be brutally honest with you guys, I've met a lot of Star Wars fans over the past few years, and I have to say they're just very uninterested with the Disney Plus series. I honestly believe that Hasbro has to desperately release that episode 3 wave that they've been announcing now for quite some time. It comes in that beautiful, like, retro card, or that little bubble blister pack with like episode 3 art on it. I desperately feel like people really need this, because the Black Series line is dying, in my personal opinion. It's just not what it was. I consistently see these figures on sale or on clearance, especially if it's like original trilogy or Disney Plus or even the Rey trilogy. Like, the only thing that people seem to gravitate towards nowadays is the prequel stuff, as well as the Clone Wars. So I feel like they desperately need to kind of lean in on that. And that, honestly, I'm gonna make a video about this potentially in the future, but I think that episode 3 wave, or that entire series, is potentially could save Hasbro, because the Black Series line to me is just it's a dying action figure line, and they desperately need to like reinvigorate it. So just my personal opinion, my personal take. I was a little bit disappointed with this particular live stream, and honestly it was much than the Marvel Legends live stream, because I think that one ran to like almost an hour, and this one surprisingly was just a little bit over 30 minutes. So it just tells you how much effort is being placed into the Marvel Legends line compared to the Black Series line. I think they're really starting to kind of scale back and just be a little bit more cautious with the Black Series line. But I do want to make another video talking about that episode 3 wave, or that line that they're going to launch soon, because I think that one, like I said, could potentially have some really big ramifications for the Black Series line as a whole. And I'm very interested to kind of talk about that and digest it a little bit more. As always, if you guys enjoy this type of rambling content, make sure to stay tuned. We do this pretty consistently. Stay safe out there, and as always, make sure to enjoy the hobby. That's the most important part of all of this. Pose your figures, play with them, photograph them, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.